on the field this year.
Welcome to Niners Nightly.
You guys are going to hear it. The latest from the locker room, the latest from the podium, the latest scuttle from the players.
On your proud home of 49ers football. Touchdown! KNBR, the sports leader. Your faithful fix with your host, Larry Krueger, begins.
We'll take phone calls. We'll talk Niners for a full hour. Fired up. Really excited.
Now.
And away we go. Welcome to Niners Nightly. Larry Krueger back with you on a Monday night. Wow, the sports world is exploding right now. We got Game 3 of the World Series going on as we speak. Dodgers, Blue Jays at Dodger Stadium in a 1-1 series. It can't get any more even than that. And it's 5-5 in the late innings. And Shohei Ohtani is having another historic night for the Dodgers. Jeff Hoffman is on the bump now for Toronto at Dodger Stadium. And the Dodgers are hitting in the bottom of the ninth in a 5-5 game. So unbelievable night for Shohei Ohtani. If you're not watching this game, Ohtani is 4 for 4, 3 runs scored, 3 RBIs, 2 home runs, and 2 doubles. Okay. And I got to ask the question. I know where this is Niners Nightly, and I want to get into the Niners. But we are going to open up the phone lines right now and take your calls. 808 KNBR, and it's a free for all. Anything you want to talk about tonight is fair game. But I got to ask one question. Why doesn't anybody walk Shohei Ohtani? I mean, nobody has that idea. Nobody walks Shohei Ohtani. You know, how come Shohei Ohtani doesn't get the Barry Bonds treatment? I don't get that at all. I was just looking at the end of the postgame show there as Warner and Harlan were pontificating. I was just looking at some of the intentional walk numbers, by the way. Ohtani this year, 26 intentional walks. Last year, 10. 23, he had 21. Okay. Barry Bonds one time had 120 in a season. 2004, Barry Bonds, MVP Barry Bonds, intentionally walked 120 times in a season. That was 04. 03, he was intentionally walked 61 times. In 02, he was intentionally walked 68 times. In 01, he was intentionally walked 35 times. How come Ohtani doesn't get this treatment? 10 intentional walks last year, all year. 26 this year, the most ever. Barry Bonds, 120. I mean, to me, it's amazing. It's like, pitch around this guy. Pitch around this guy. Why pitch to this guy? I mean, they didn't pitch to Bonds. It does make you wonder, though. It's like, why would Bonds get so many intentional walks? And don't tell me he didn't have anybody behind him. He did at times. At times, he had some big-time guys behind him. Ohtani leads off. Is that why? Is it because he can run? I mean, I don't get it. I mean, Bonds could run. Bonds had 500 stolen bases. So I don't know. I mean, I don't get it. I don't get it. When I'm watching Ohtani just dominate, it's a great show, but put him on first. I mean, they didn't intentionally walk him when they had the first base open the last time I checked. Anyway, that's my baseball thought. If you have a World Series thought, as we all sit here and collectively hope that the Dodgers gag and that somehow the Blue Jays win the World Series. It's bad enough we got to see the Dodgers spend $350 million while the Giants spend half of that. Giants ownership. Why are you spending half of that when you're super rich? But as long as they lose in the Fall Classic, I'll be satisfied. I'll be satisfied for the year as long as Toronto somehow comes and wins this series and sends LA, back to their only title being the bubble title. The corona, the virus, basically the virus title for the Dodgers. Other than that, they haven't won since I was a senior in high school, 1988, until last year. So, I mean, I don't want to see, I definitely don't want to see the Dodgers win. And I'm rooting for Toronto, but 5-5 in the ninth. Okay. So we're going till roughly 9:30. I think JD's going to join us at some point, or JD's going to take over, I should say. I'll move aside for JD. Warriors going on. I said there's a lot of sports going on tonight. I'm serious. Golden State's up 80-73 on Memphis at Chase. Right now, 6:18 left in the third quarter. Warriors 2-1 out of the shoot. Looking good. Looking good so far. Jimmy Butler's got 18 tonight, 15 for Jonathan Kuminga, 13 for Steph. Pods has got 15. Big third quarter looks like for Pods. And the Warriors up 80-73. Game that Golden State led at halftime by 4, 65-61. It's now 80-73 with 6:18 left in the third. And we will take it until I think roughly bottom of the hour. And JD is going to jump in and talk Warrior basketball, and he'll have your post-game Warriors conversation going, and you can entertain him and give him some calls at 808 KNBR. But I'd love to get your thoughts on the Niners. Let's talk a little 49ers out of the chute, even though you got Game 3 of the World Series and the Warrior game going on right now. This is our Niners Nightly, and we normally come at you from 6 to 7, except when there's Monday night. Ohtani just tagged out at second base for falling. The weakest play in baseball is the guy who loses his balance and falls off the bag for like a nanosecond and the tag stays on there. There's nothing cheesier than that. It's like, so he stole the base, but then he came off the bag and he got tagged in the groin, and so he's out. It's not as bad on the steal because you got to coordinate getting both feet on the bag. But when a guy rips like a scalding double and he hits the ball 115 miles an hour and it goes off the top of the wall and he goes into second and he stands on the bag, and as he's pivoting from his right foot on the bag to the left foot on the bag, there's a nanosecond where there's no foot on the bag and the tag stayed on, and that is the weakest thing in pro sports. That you ripped a double, but because you switched feet at second, it's like, we're not giving that to you. I mean, that to me, I think should just be that. I'd love to see that eliminated. That's the kind of stuff that I think is not making baseball better. That kind of stuff makes baseball worse. But whatever, that's my own personal opinion. But I definitely want your thoughts on the Niners. We'll open up the lines here at 808 KNBR. John Lynch was on last week in his regular Murph and Marcus spot on Thursday, and the boys asked him about the trade deadline. And John's like, you know what? We got enough right here. We got enough right here. He said, this is the exact quote. We've got plenty in this building. Is what Lynch insisted last Thursday on KNBR. And then you saw what happened this weekend. 49ers got beat by the Texans. They looked really bad in the process. I didn't really have a problem with the Niners scoring 15 because Houston gives up 14 points a game. That's still a point over what they give the rest of the league. But giving this horrendous Texan offense that was just horrible the week before against Seattle, couldn't get out of their own way. And they had Nico Collins. This week they didn't even have Nico Collins and 26 on the Niner defense. No pass rush at all on Stroud. Stroud last week completed 47% of his passes. This week he was 23 of 28 at halftime. It's like 80%. I mean, the 49ers, the tackling in this game was awful. Absolutely awful. The tackling was bad. The pass rush was non-existent. The defense held early and made them settle for field goals, but then caved in late. And where are you with the 49ers? Here we are. It's the 27th of October. Do the 49ers need to make a deal or not? Do you agree with John Lynch? He says they don't need to make a deal. I would disagree. I would say, John, you do need to make a deal. You absolutely do need to make a deal. Now, I understand why he said it. You don't want, I mean, this is like, I used to talk to Sabes about this. He'd be like, Krug, the guys can't think that like the cavalry's coming to save them. So like when you ask me, hey man, what are you thinking about at the trade deadline? I'm always going to say, hey, we got enough. We don't need to make a deal. Because one, I don't want if I come out and I say, oh, you know what, we got to make a deal. What if we can't make a deal? So you got to, and Sabes understood basic tenets of sales. And that's really what it is. I'm sure we have some people in our audience tonight listening that do sales. Anybody who does sales knows under promise, over deliver. You under promise, you over deliver, you're a hero. Manage your client's expectations. You manage your client's expectations, you underpromise and you overdeliver, you're the king. Everybody loves you. You're awesome. You know, everybody, all your clients are like, oh, yeah, love that guy. If you do the opposite, you're a damn fool. You're terrible at sales and your clients hate you. If you don't manage your clients' expectations, who was the worst at managing his clients' expectations ever? Farhan Zaidi. He talked a huge game. We're going to look at this guy. We're going to look at that guy. There is no guy that's too big for us to. AJ Pollock, thanks for coming. You know, I mean, he was terrible at the trade deadline. He was terrible. He got the Giants fans all hot and bothered, and then he just didn't deliver. And that's the opposite of what you have to do. You can't do that. You can't overpromise and underdeliver. You got to underpromise and overdeliver. So I understand when Lynch says, "Hey, man, we're good. We got the guys right here. We got the guys in the room. We can do it." I mean, that's what you want your locker room to think. You don't want your locker room to think that you don't believe in them. So I understand why he says it. I just don't agree. And if we're taking them at face value, I would debate that. Yeah, they need to make a trade. Absolutely, they need to make a trade. Their offensive line just got their you know what's handed to them. They haven't had good receivers all year. They can't run the ball most games. They have no pass rush to speak of. Their young DBs are getting roasted. Yeah, I would say absolutely. Do they need to make a deal, for nothing? No, but if you want to contend, I mean, if you're a believer that the Niners at 5-3 aren't a contender, then I guess it doesn't really matter if they make a deal or not, right? Because you don't view them as a contender. But if you look at the Niners at 5-3 and say, yeah, they're a contender, they are a Super Bowl contender. Are they flawed? Yeah, but so's every team. I mean, name me the team that isn't flawed. And the 49ers are getting some talent back. So 808 KNBR, if you're driving around on a Monday night, we can take some of your calls. Do the 49ers need to make a trade if they want to contend this year? If I said, you know what, Jed and the ownership want to contend, what do you need? What do you need? What do you need to contend? Do you need a pass rusher? Do you need a corner? You need a receiver? You need another offensive lineman? You need another running back? What exactly do you need? Do you need a linebacker? Do you need a safety? I mean, the safety play this weekend I thought was atrocious. I thought it was really, really bad. But 808 KNBR, do the Niners need to make a trade to contend? And I would argue yes, they absolutely do. Now, John Feliciano, who's obviously was on the team in the last couple of years and former NFL offensive lineman, he said that when you make a trade, a lot of times that people, the guys in the room are juiced by that, and sometimes it can help a team just have more energy and more enthusiasm and more life because they feel like the front office is kind of backing them. So there's that. I definitely don't think, like, if you said, should the Niners be buyers, sellers, or stand pat? Well, there's no way they should be sellers. I can't see them. I just don't see, that's not in their DNA. And why would you sell at this point? You're 5-3. If you were, if instead of 5-3, if you were 2-6, maybe I would be like, yeah, find out if somebody wants Trent, find out if somebody wants CMC, find out who wants Kittle. Consider everything. But you're not. You're 5-3. And not only that, you've beaten the Rams in LA, you've beaten Seattle in Seattle. You've got 3 wins in the division. You're 5-1 in the conference. Who's the juggernaut in the NFC that you're really afraid of? Philly? Really? Philly's lost some games. And every one of these teams looks pretty beatable. It's a week-to-week league. I mean, Atlanta beat Buffalo, and then the Niners beat Atlanta, and then the Niners lost to Houston. Now Buffalo comes back this week. They put up 40 against Carolina. So it's hard to know who the best teams are. It's like, it's the way you play the day you play. But do the 49ers, in your mind, if they're going to be a Super Bowl contender, do they need to make a deal? And I would say they absolutely do. Now, I don't think you're going to get an offensive lineman. I think you just kind of got to go with what you got. But I think you got to be a buyer for somebody on your defensive front, and I would look at it this way. When the Niners traded for CMC, was he a rental? No. He's a foundation piece. When the Niners traded for Trent Williams, was he a rental? No. He was a foundation piece. These guys didn't stay for 5 games and then bolt at the end of the year in free agency. The Niners added these guys to have them as part of their core, and they've been with the team continuously since those trades. So I would take the same approach here. Is that, do the 49ers need to make a trade? Well, I don't know if, you could make an argument that with Bosa out and Warner out, Toronto just had their guy thrown out at the plate. So it's still 5-5 going to the 10th now, going to the bottom of the 10th. Rough one. Rough play there. But I mean, you can make an argument the 49ers with Warner out and Bosa out, their Super Bowl chances are not good. I mean, I've heard lots of people making that argument, and I understand that. I totally get that. But you're 5-3 in a flawed league. The Super Bowl's at home. You're probably as proven an entity in the NFC playoffs as almost any team that you'll face. You got 2 quarterbacks that can process pretty well. Right now, you don't look like a Super Bowl team. But right now you don't have Brock Purdy. You don't have Brandon Ayuk. You don't, you're not going to have Kittle or you're not going to have Bosa or Warner, but you got Kittle back and you got McCaffrey back. And eventually you're probably going to get Ayuk back, though Shanahan said they're not opening his practice window today. But that's kind of where, I see the 49ers. I think they need to make a move. I would make a move the same way they made a move on the McCaffrey or the Trent. Go get a great player if you don't have to give up a first-round draft choice. The good news is Roger McCreary was traded today by the Titans to the Rams, and all he went for was the Rams basically moved from they traded, it was their 6th and McCreary, or their 5th for McCreary and a 6th. So, I mean, basically the Rams just moved from the 5th round to the 6th round. And for that, they got Roger McCreary. So the trade price tag on a lot of these trade targets is not really, really high. I mentioned to Greg Papa and Greg Silver this morning that there were some reports by Diana Rossini that teams are calling the Jets about Quinnen Williams. Now, Quinnen Williams is a big-time player, but they're saying he's going to go for a second-round draft choice. In a lot of ways, if I'm the 49ers, I know they've got, a lot of money committed to their D-line, but you know what? The Niners' whole mindset is to have a dominant D-line. All right, next year you'll have Bosa, maybe you'll have Huff. What if you had Bosa, Huff, and Quinnen Williams on one line? Now we're talking. Now you have a dominant defensive line. So I personally, I think the Niners need to make a move. I think they definitely need to make a move if they want to contend this year, because they just can't put any pressure at all on the quarterback. I mean, some of the numbers from this weekend were staggering. The Niners defense knocked C.J. Stroud down 1 time. They didn't sack him at all. That's the 2nd time all year that the Niner defense has gone sackless. So the Niners have 9 sacks as a team. I mean, that's unbelievable. Only Jacksonville, who, they were on their bye this weekend, have fewer sacks than the Niners. Niners are on pace to finish the year with 19 sacks for the year. 19 sacks for the year. Nick Bosa by himself had 18.5 3 years ago. And they couldn't produce any sacks this week against a Houston offensive line that was ranked 30th in pass block win rate. But the Niners are worse as pass rushers. They rank 31st with 9 sacks. So C.J. Stroud looked awesome. Last week against Seattle, he completed 46.9% of his passes. This week, he completed 76.9% on the game without Nico Collins and without Christian Kirk. So, the 49ers, they made C.J. Stroud look way, way better than he even is. And now they've lost. Sam Aquinu went out with an injury. Jordan Elliott went out. They both went out with ankle injuries. Alfred Collins went out with a shoulder injury. And they had to lean on their backup defensive ends. And guess what happened? Mikael Williams, Trevis Gibson, Robert Beal Jr., these guys didn't sniff a sack. The three of them combined for no quarterback hits at all. So the Niners need help. I don't know if it's Jermaine Johnson. I don't know if it's Quinnen Williams. I don't know if it's Arden Key, Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb, Carl Granderson, Kayvon Thibodeau. They need somebody. They need somebody. If they're going to contend this year, I think they need another defensive lineman, most likely a defensive end. As far as, the offensive line, I mean, that's the other debate that's going on. You watch the Niners offensive line just got gutted in this game. I mean, it was jailbreak. Will Anderson totally dominated Colton McKivitz. I mean, I hate to say it because I really like Colton McKivitz, but Anderson had a sack and he had 3 quarterback hits, and they totally held down McCaffrey. They held him to 25 yards rushing and 43 yards receiving. This guy had 200 plus yards the week before against Atlanta, and they totally kept him down. So, I don't know what to make of that other than the Niner offensive line. I don't think it's the worst offensive line in the game or anything, but Houston's defensive front dominated them up front, and there wasn't a lot there. I mean, this Texans offensive line was supposed to be horrible, and instead, against the Niner defensive line, they did not allow a sack for the first time all year. And then the 49ers on the defensive side just couldn't get anything going. They allowed Houston to score on 6 of their first 7 offensive possessions. At one point, Niners were down 16-0, and Houston had outgained them 272-15 in yardage. I mean, at one point, the time of possession was 24 minutes plus for the Texans, and the Niners had held the ball for 4 minutes and 56 seconds. So the Houston totally took away the screen game. Every time the Niners wanted to throw a screen pass, pretty much Jones had to just hurl it into the ground because they were all over it. They swarmed to the ball really fast. They were all over it. They just took away the screen game. It was really amazing to watch. And to me, it was more amazing. I knew the Niner offense was going to struggle just because, you've got a really good defense that given up 14 points a game, and they're really good on all 3 levels. And Anderson and Hunter are excellent off the edge. You had a backup center starting. You had some receivers down. Niners were coming off a win. It just seemed like an opportunity for Houston to kind of rise up, and sure enough, they did. I thought Hennessy was okay. He had 26 pass blocking opportunities. He did not allow a sack. He only allowed 1 pressure. He did not allow a quarterback hit. He had a pretty good pass blocking efficiency grade, 98.1, 67.0 pass block grade from PFF, 42 run block grade. So overall, I thought, I would say the Niners line as a unit, I thought played decently in this game. I just thought Colton McKivitz and Trent Williams just had really tough assignments, and they both struggled. McKivitz gave up 4 pressures, and so did Williams. Trent gave up four pressures and 1 sack. The rest of the line was okay. Hennessy gave up 2, Zakelj gave up 2, Pooney gave up 2, Colby, the rookie, gave up 1. Mac Jones was pressured 15 times in his 26 pass attempts. So that kind of jumped out. And I think now clearly the game plan for this week is run the ball. The one thing about this New York Giants team that's on deck is they've got Kayvon Thibodeau, they've got Brian Burns, they've got Abdul Carter. They have 3 of the most awesome young edge rushers in the game. Run the ball. The New York Giants have allowed this week alone, they allowed 200-yard rushers, and both those guys went for over 10 yards a carry. Run the ball heavily against the G-men. All right, 808 KNBR is the number. Should the Niners be buyers or sellers at the trade deadline? Do they need to make a trade to contend? If you have a thought on Shohei Ohtani and his incredible dominance, give us a call. And who are you more frustrated with right now with the 49ers? Are you more frustrated that their offense looks bad? They can't really do much offensively? Or are you more frustrated with the fact that the defense just has no rush? And without Warner and Bosa, they just got pushed around on Sunday against Houston. 808 KNBR, the phone number. Larry Krueger with you until JD takes over, bottom of the hour on the Sports Leader.
Now, back to Niners Nightly with your host, Larry Krueger, on KNBR, the sports leader. Sports leader.
Welcome back to Niners Nightly. Larry Krueger with you on a Monday night. And if you want to join the conversation, 808 KNBR the number. Warriors winning, Dodgers and Blue Jays tied. That's the status at this juncture. Warriors 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter. They're up 104-89. How about Golden State off to a good start? I don't know what you guys think we're going to see from Golden State, but I really think it's going to be a hot start, a good record, and then once we get about 20 to 30 games in, that's when the old guys are going to start missing time. So I thought Golden State would get off to a great start. They are getting off to a great start. If they win tonight, they'll go to 3-1 out of the chute. They look really good. They're fresh. It's late October, but you got all of November, all of December, all of January, all of February, all of March, all of April, and then the playoffs start. And it's just too long. It's just too long. I don't think that the Warriors with this group are going to be a real title contender come May. But I do think they're going to get off to a really good start. And they're off to a good start right now. They're looking good. They're getting great contribution out of Kuminga. Everybody's loving everybody. As Will Ferrell said in Semi-Pro, I've got one rule. Everybody love everybody. Tonight, they've gotten 18 off the bench from Moses Moody. How about Moses Moody? 18 points in 18 minutes. And Golden State's up 20 with about 9 minutes to play. And JD will take your phone calls afterwards at 808 KNBR. Now, the World Series is tied at 5 games apiece. And we're in extras. We're now in the, this is game 3, top 11. And it's funny, Kyle was just saying in my ear during the commercial, it's like, I'm really glad they don't have that ghost runner in the playoffs. And it's like, the ghost runner's an absolute awful idea. I mean, you're going to shorten your games. That right there, anytime you're looking to shorten your games, if your sport's really cooking, people want to consume more of it, not less of it. Look how long freaking college football is. It's the second fastest growing sport in America to the NFL. College football is freaking eternal. Those games just go on and on and on and on. I mean, a 7:00 game can easily go to 11:00 at night. They're 4-hour plus extravaganzas, constant stoppages, and yet college football is enormously popular. So how come baseball's got to shorten everything? Shorter, quicker. You know what? That's not your issue, baseball. Your issue is that you've got a bunch of players that nobody knows about, and it's a stacked card game where you've got an unbelievable disparity at the top of your sport. I mean, say what you want about the NFL. Part of the reason you love the NFL is that teams like the Packers, can win in the NFL, where the Brewers can make it to the playoffs, but are they really going to win? Are the poor teams really going to win in baseball? No, but poor teams, money, and the New York, the Jets and Giants do not dominate the NFL because they're in New York. But you can make an argument that the Yankees and the Mets are among the top teams in baseball generally. Obviously, the Mets weren't, but because of the money, because of the massive amount of money that they spend. And the Dodgers spending $350 million on player payroll, and the Giants are spending $175, and we're supposed to sit there and be like, oh yeah, it's fine, it's equitable, it's great, it's awesome. It's like, it's only awesome if you're a Dodger fan. If you're a Dodger fan, you love it. Yeah, we're going to be in the playoffs every year. We're going to take a shot at the World Series every year. If you're a Giants fan and your team's spending 50 cents for every dollar that the Dodgers spend, you're not loving it. You're not loving it, as you miss the playoffs every year and get to watch the Dodgers in October. So Dodgers, Blue Jays, 11th inning, 2 outs, 5-5 ball game. That game's going on. The winner of that game will go up 2-1 in this World Series. and Varsho was just struck out by Emmett Sheehan. And so we're going to the bottom of the 11th in a game that has 24 hits, a bunch of home runs, and 13 pitchers. Remember the old days where you used to be like, "Oh man, it's Roger Clemens against Dave Stewart," and you had a reasonable expectation you were going to get 3 pitchers, 4 pitchers, maybe. It seemed like a lot. Now 4 pitchers is just like, what? That's nothing. 4 pitchers. That's just a nightly deal. The Dodgers have used they started with Glasnow. They went from Glasnow to Banda to Robleski to Trinan to Dreyer to Sasaki to Sheehan, and they've got more to go. So they've got 7 pitchers going tonight. And Toronto's right there. They started Scherzer. They went to Flaherty, Varland, Dominguez, Bassett, Hoffman, and Fisher. So I mean, you have 14 pitchers in this game, and it's only the 11th inning. 14 pitchers. Why is offense so muted? You know how hard it would be if every single time you came to the plate, you're going up against somebody new. You're not seeing anybody more than once. You're seeing a whole array of different guys, and they're all throwing 95 with killer breaking stuff. It's hard to be a baseball player. It's hard to hit off 5 different pitchers every single night. So anyway, that's where we're at there. Now, we were talking Niners, and I don't know how you guys feel. Shanahan spoke today, and the day after, he was basically told us Sam O, Jordan Elliott, Alfred Collins, Mac Jones, D Winters, they're all day to day. They all have different injuries in their day to day. Shanahan said Friday that Brandon Ayuk would potentially have his practice window opened this week, and today he told us that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen at least this week. Maybe it'll happen next week, but it's not going to happen this week. Shanahan said that Ayuk is week to week from here on out. And they're just not ready to open his 3-week practice window. Once it is opened, he'll have 3 weeks, or they'll have 3 weeks to either activate him or put him on season-ending IR and call it a year. So I would say you're not going to see Ayuk until Thanksgiving. I would say maybe even it might even be December. He had a major injury with major tears to the knee, and so I don't think it's realistic to think that he's coming back anytime soon. I would say probably maybe 3 weeks from now they'll open his 3-week window, and then maybe they'll wait, 2 weeks out of that, let him practice, let him shake off rust. But I think it's going to be late November. I think we're maybe about a month from seeing Ayuk potentially, but I think it's probably more like a month and a half. I think it's probably going to be in December. And that's just the way it is. And I think they should do right by him. Whatever, this is a young man with a lot of football left in his career. They should not rush him out there just because they need him. They should take the proper amount of time and let him heal. Let him heal. I mean, it's the last thing you want is any kind of a recurrence of that injury. It would be awful. It'd be just absolutely terrible if that happened. One thing that was alarming today, listening to Kyle Shanahan, is it doesn't sound like Ricky Pearsall is coming back anytime soon. He's got that knee injury, and they hope to get him back, but really no timetable on Ricky Pearsall. Kyle seemed to indicate that he was not on his list of guys who were going to be set to return this week. So it might be that Ricky's going to miss another week. So he's missed a lot of action. Brock Purdy with the toe. Shanahan was asked, are we going to see Brock Purdy this week, or would you rule him out? And he's like, I wouldn't rule him out. But he says it's too early to say one way or another on Brock Purdy. And then, the media asked Shanahan the question of MetLife's got the terrible turf. That's the turf that Nick Bosa tore his knee up on, and it's just an awful turf. It's the turf that Aaron Rodgers blew out his Achilles on. It's probably the worst playing surface in the NFL. And Brock Purdy's got turf toe. So the natural question today was, hey, Kyle, will the MetLife turf play any role in your decision to have Purdy come back? And he's like, no. If as soon as he's ready to come back, he's coming back, surface or no surface, whether it's MetLife or wherever it is. He's going to, whenever he's ready, he's coming back. So they're not, either they're not concerned about the MetLife surface or they don't want to appear to be concerned. But he said that that was a non-factor. It doesn't look like Bryce Huff or Jake Brendel are going to make it back this week for the Giant game. Huff and Brendel most likely are going to miss another game. And that's, as I said, I thought Hennessy played all right for Brendel. The Niner defensive ends did not play all right for Bryce Huff. They miss Bryce Huff badly. And then Kyle was asked today about Nick Martin and where's Nick Martin? And it's like, what is the deal here? You drafted this guy in the third round, and Kyle's like, yeah, he's behind Curtis Robinson, but he's also behind Luke Gifford. So I guess maybe it needs to be asked, why is your third round draft choice, who, I'm sure you were excited about, right? I mean, guy runs in the 4.5s, 26 reps at 225. He had 140 tackles one year at Oak State. He was their captain. Gundy traveled him on the road. He thought he was such a leader. And where's Nick Martin? Why can your third round draft choice not get on the football field? What is it about Nick Martin? I mean, clearly he's behind Curtis Robinson, but he's also clearly behind Gifford. So why is your third round draft choice struggling to get on the field? Why is your third round draft choice behind special teams linebackers like Gifford and Robinson? Shouldn't he be in the mix by now? I mean, is there an injury? Can he not play? Is he a bust? Did your personnel department blow it? I mean, why is your third round pick linebacker who's seemingly healthy, like, appears to be like persona non grata? He's like, he can't get on the field. Now, I think the guy's got a lot of talent. But they're kind of telling us that they don't really like him that much, or there's some issue there, because it's one thing to sit behind Warner. It's one thing to sit behind Winters. But if you're now sitting behind Gifford and Robinson, we got to have a conversation. Where's Nick Martin? Why is he not in the mix? Is he a bust? Can he not play? Is he not learning your defense? Why did you draft this guy in the third round if he can't beat out your two special teams linebackers for playing time? So that's a big question that I think, either something's not right with Nick, or the Niners don't believe in him, or there's something they don't like. Either he can't learn, he's not doing it right, whatever. But there is a backstory there. There's no way you drafted this guy in the third round, and he looked really overpowering at times in the preseason, and you can't get him on the field at all. I mean, he's not playing at all. And Kyle said, hey, you look good on special teams, but for whatever reason, they don't like him from scrimmage. And I got to ask the question, did you draft a bust in the third round? Why is your third round pick not playing when you clearly need linebackers in the worst way? Why is Nick Martin not going? Why is he not playing? That's a big question. And I think we need the answer to that one. Shanahan also said he thought DeMarcus Robinson did some good things yesterday. I think Robinson could be a very good player for the 49ers, especially in the red zone, because he's really, he's a guy that understands how to kind of use those little rub routes and those little picks. He's so good in the red zone. You saw it a little bit late in that game. He made a couple really nice catches, and you could kind of see on the short yardage stuff, DeMarcus Robinson knows how to get open. He knows how to get open. He's got pretty good hands. So I'm looking for him to have a increased role. And then the other question I have from this game is, what's going on with Juwan Jennings? Now, I know he's banged up. He's got the ankle. He's got a rib injury. He's got the shoulder injury. He's clearly not 100%, but he just doesn't seem like the same guy. And I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why he doesn't seem like the same guy, but he doesn't seem happy. He doesn't seem like he's really thrilled to be out there. I don't know. Maybe it's just that he's super banged up, but I'll tell you, when I watched that film again, the thing that really stood out was the 49ers on defense missed a ton of tackles, and the coverage was so soft. And I kind of wonder, one of the things I'm going to have to ask Robert Saleh about is, that couldn't have been what his game plan was. the 49ers missed so many tackles in this game, but the soft coverage was even more offensive. You know, 3rd and 1, Stroud finds Jalen Knoll, and Renardo Green's 4 yards off of him on 3rd and 1. It's like, bro, it's 3rd and 1. 2nd and 5, Stroud went to Braxton Berrios against Renardo Green. Once again, the coverage was really soft. It was an 8-yard easy Stroud to Berrios pitch and catch with Renardo Green playing behind Berrios. Why are you giving a guy an 8-yard reception on 2nd and 5? And why aren't you hugged up on a receiver that can't run by you? So I think that was probably the most disturbing part about the game on Sunday was the 49ers, the soft coverage all day. Stroud went to Hutchinson against Lenore for an easy first down on the sideline. Lenore was 4 or 5 yards off the ball. Didn't even make a play on the ball. Never got within 3 yards of the receiver. It's like, why are you playing that soft of coverage? The one that was really offensive, it was the 3rd and 11 pass where Stroud found Berrios as well. And, it was 3rd and 11. 8 yards down the field, Jair Brown has him right there in his sights. Doesn't even get close to tackling him. Doesn't get close to wrapping him up. D. Winters hit him with the shoulder. Didn't even open his arms like he was trying to wrap him up. Both of them missed tackles on 3rd and 11. And Berrios went for like 14 yards on 3rd and 11 and converted, and the offense stayed on the field. It's just really, it was a very weird game to watch. That and then Will Anderson. I love Colton McKivitz, but man, Will Anderson dominated Colton McKivitz. He kept hitting Mac Jones. He hit Jones' arm on another pass play. He just kept going right on by McKivitz. But yeah, the soft coverage was unbelievable. Stroud went to Woody Marks in the flat, and Tatum Bethune got wired inside. And that thing went for 50 yards. That was a busted play to the running back for 50 yards. And then Houston did a great job of neutralizing the Niners screen passes and that kind of thing. But, it was unbelievable, really. The 49ers, I thought Jair Brown had a couple of really nice plays. He had that one play where he tackled Nick Chubb in the backfield for a loss. And it was like maybe a 1-yard gain or maybe a negative 1-yard gain for Houston. But then later, Jair Brown in man coverage gets locked up and just got roasted. Ran a little crosser, little over pattern, ran right by him. He was in chase mode. So the Niners safeties really struggled in this game. Jair looked slow, and Mustafa looked rusty. And then kind of overall soft coverages. They didn't, if they played man, they didn't play it tight enough. There was a lot of really soft coverage, and then just no pass rush up front. And Stroud just sat back there. And the week before, it was like he really was under duress. He couldn't complete any passes the week before against Seattle. In this game, he just did whatever he kind of wanted. Sat back there and just kind of picked the Niners apart and kind of looked good doing it. He completed 47% against Seattle, and he completed like 85% in the first half against the Niners. Houston came out in this game with 6 offensive lineman looks early because they're like, you know what? We're going to power the run game. We don't have Nico Collins. We're going to run the heck out of the football at the Niners. But they only used 6 offensive linemen a few times on that first drive because they realized they didn't need them. They didn't need to go 6 linemen. They could just run the ball against the 49ers. So it was a very bizarre game. On that first drive, Houston had multiple penalties. Usually those are drive killers. Nope. They still found a way to score. There were some third downs where, Robert Saleh brought extra pressures. He had 5-man rushes in this game. He brought 6-man rushes. There was one 3rd and 7 play where he brought 6, and Stroud makes a completion for 6 yards on 3rd and 7, and it set up a 4th and 1, and they converted, and they stayed on the field. So very, very frustrating game. It was a frustrating game to watch. CMC is a huge, huge part of what the 49ers do offensively. He had 8 yards in the first half. 8, as in 7, 8. What? 8 yards for CMC in the first half? But that's what we got in this game. They took away CMC. They hit Jones. They worked McKivitz over pretty good, and they won the game. And they kind of made it look kind of easy. The 50-yarder to Marks, huge play. The 30-yarder to whoever had the crosser against Jair, huge play. The 49ers are out there, and the Niners have issues at receiver. Pearsall's hurt, Ayuk's out, Jennings is hurt. They're trying to make do at wide receiver. They're leaning heavily on McCaffrey, but man, in this game, they fell behind just by field goals, and they just couldn't get up. They just could not get up. They could not get it going. And then, when you give up explosives and you can't stop the other team at all, and you're not putting any pressure on the quarterback, and he's sitting back there just completing pass after pass after pass, it's going to be a long, long day at the office. And that's what it was for the Niners. All right, let's do this. Let's take a timeout. Warriors putting away the Memphis Grizzlies. JD's coming up shortly, and we've got more straight ahead on the Sports Leader.
faithful. Niners Nightly with Larry Krueger now continues on your proud home of 49ers football. KNBR, the sports leader.
And we're coming down the home stretch on Niners Nightly on a Monday. World Series still locked up 5-5 at Dodger Stadium, top 12. I was just saying to Kyle Harr, with that runner on second base in extras in the regular season, you get in these situations, these tie games late, and it's like, well, you don't really have to worry about learning how to manufacture a run. It's just you got a guy on second. It's can you get that guy over to third with less than 2 outs? Can you get him in? Do you play for one? Do you play for two? I mean, it's you take that away from these guys and make them, play it straight like it is through the first 9 innings, and just nobody scores at all. Nobody scores at all. Toronto's got 2 on with 2 out, top 12 against Emmett Sheehan, looking for that big hit to break this thing open. It's 5-5, also a 1-1 series. So big game tonight for sure. And Toronto's got men on first and second with 2 out, and a single will score. Was it Tyler Heineman? A slow grounder to third. Oh, and they got the force out of third. I don't know about that. We'll see. But Tyler Heineman did not slide, by the way. He was running from second to third, and he did not slide. That's a bad look, bro. It's a bad look when you go full speed into a base. He's safe, though. He is safe. The replay is going to show that he was safe, but that's a bad look. So it's going to be bases loaded for Toronto with 2 outs. If they go to replay and get this right, because he definitely, his foot was on the bag before the ball got to Max Muncy, the hated Max Muncy. Now they're going to challenge it. So it's going to be bases loaded for Toronto, 2 outs in the top of the 12th at Dodger Stadium in Game 3 of the World Series. The Warriors have 27 seconds left from beating Memphis tonight to go to 3-1, 131-118 currently. Just looking at the box score tonight, and I haven't watched this game because I was watching the World Series. I was watching the football game. Very even game, but the Warriors won it at the 3-point line. They were plus 21 at the 3-point line, 19 made threes for Golden State, 7 more than Memphis. So that's the big disparity in the box score, is that the Warriors hit 19 of 43 threes, and Memphis made 12 of 39. So Warriors shot 44% from 3, 30% for Memphis. That looks like pretty much the difference in the game. Warriors shot better from the field overall, 53% to 45%, but only 4 more field goals made. Free throws, very even, 26 for Memphis, 24 for the Warriors. The percentages really, really close. The rebounding was very, very close. It's now a final, 131-118. Rebounding was identical, 39-39, 7-7 on the offensive glass, 32-32 on the defensive glass. Both teams had over 30 assists, 36 assists for Golden State. That's a good number. 15 turnovers, so you got more than the 2-to-1 ratio of assists to turnovers number. Points in the paint, even, 48-48. Fast break points, Memphis actually beat the Warriors they were plus 8 on the break, 20-12. So this is a very, very even game, but the Warriors win it at the 3-point line, being plus 21 at the 3-point line. Huge second half, it looked like, for Kuminga. He wound up finishing with, what did Kuminga wind up, 25 and 10? Is that what it looks like? Let me see what Kuminga had. 25 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists for Kuminga. Maybe keeping Kuminga might be the ticket, but 26 for Kuminga, 23 for Pods, 20 for Jimmy Butler to go with 5 rebounds, 5 assists. Draymond Green had 7 points, 4 rebounds, 10 assists. Big assist night for Draymond Green. And Golden State, their bench only had 1 turnover the entire night. Or no, I should say that 3. 2 for Moody, 1 for Richard. But that's not bad. 3 turnovers from your bench all night. 20 off the bench for Moses Moody. That's a big shot in the arm. He had missed a game with the injury, or was it illness maybe for Moses? But 131, 118, and 20 off the bench for for Moody. So the Warriors playing well early. 16-7 for Jaren Jackson, 23 for Ja to go with 9 assists, 14 for Santi Aldama off the bench, one of my favorites. Cam Spencer. Oh, yeah, this is the Spencer reunion. Pat Spencer plays for the Warriors. Cam Spencer plays for the Grizz. 11 for the former UConn Husky, Cam Spencer. But Golden State had a 1-point lead after one. They led, or I should say Memphis had a 1-point lead after one. Golden State led by 4 at half. Golden State took it over in the third. 36-24 third quarter. That was the difference in this game. Memphis won the 4 33-30, but 131-118. Golden State 3-1 out of the chute, playing some pretty good basketball. All right, we will do this. We will take a break. JD's going to join us or join you coming up next. If you're tuning in for a little Warrior post game, he's going to take your phone calls right now. 808 KNBR is the phone number. World Series, Kershaw is now on the mound for the Dodgers in the 12th, pitching with the bags loaded and 2 outs. Let's see if we can, before we sign off in this segment, maybe we can get some resolution on this World Series. But it's 5-5 at Dodger Stadium. Of course, Dodgers, no matter what happens in the top of the inning, will get their last licks in the bottom half of the inning. But Kershaw just got squeezed with a pitch, and he's upset. But there you go. We got the bases loaded, 5-5, 2 outs, Toronto and the Dodgers. Luke's at the plate, Kershaw on the mound, bags loaded. Former Giant Tyler Heineman just 90 feet away at third base. Toronto's trying to break through, and they've run the count full. So there's nowhere else to go for Kershaw here. 3 balls, 2 strikes, bags loaded, 5-5, Dodgers in Toronto. Toronto hitting. Maybe Luke's will hit a double. Drive in 3, make this an 8-5 game. Here is the payoff pitch, the 3-2 pitch. And he flies to left. And it's foul. It's foul. All right, we're not going to get the resolution. We'll take the timeout. JD, I'm sure will tell you what happened, but JD's next with your phone calls talking Warrior basketball. Warriors hot, 3-1 out of the chute. JD's next on the Sports Leader.